Everything changed in a matter of seconds. An injury, a sudden shift in momentum, the brutal realization that in the National Football League, raw talent alone is never, ever enough to guarantee a championship. Welcome to NFL Nexus, the ultimate home for premium, cinematic football analysis. If you're here to understand the game beyond just the basic box score, make sure you subscribe to the channel, like this explainer, and comment on what you thought down below. And hey, if you want to truly support the channel and keep these deep dives coming, consider becoming a channel member today. So, today we're taking a magnifying glass to the 2026 Indianapolis Colts. But I need to be clear right off the bat. We're not merely looking at a schedule of games here. No, we are looking at a meticulously calculated, brutal war of attrition. We're talking about a 17-game gauntlet that literally breaks down human bodies, splinters bone, and shatters conventional game plans week in and week out. It's a campaign where General Manager Chris Ballard and head coach Shane Steichen aren't just trying to outscore opponents to win football games, they are actively trying to outlast the violent, punishing reality of the NFL calendar. This right here is a master plan built in the dirt, forged in the trenches, and designed for one specific ultimate purpose: survival.
So what does it actually take to survive January? Think about that for a second. It takes a whole lot more than flash. It takes way more than highlight reel catches or that endless preseason hype we all get sucked into. Did you know that when the temperature drops to 15 degrees Fahrenheit, a football literally becomes as hard as a brick? Catching it physically stings your hands. And tackling? Man, tackling someone at full speed in that weather feels like throwing your body against a frozen fire hydrant. When the calendar finally flips to December and January, the air turns freezing, the turf feels like solid concrete, and the unforgiving stakes of the winter push really truly sink in. If you're a fantasy manager or honestly just a fan who is completely exhausted from watching your team fade when it matters most, this is exactly why you need to pay attention today. The teams that survive the winter aren't always the fastest on the field. They are the ones with the deepest resolve and the heaviest armor. And the Colts? They understand this reality on a microscopic level. They know that when the winter winds start howling through the playoffs, the game just shrinks. It strips away all the finesse and becomes a primitive clash of wills. And to win that clash, you need your ultimate weapon to be standing strong, not broken down and battered by the miles they've already traveled.
Okay, let's dive into this, because this number is the absolute foundation of the Colts' entire offensive dilemma right now: 323. That is the number of carries Jonathan Taylor took in 2025. It led the entire NFL, and it produced a staggering 20 touchdowns. But I want you to truly visualize what that number means when we get down to a biological level. That is 323 bone-jarring, earth-shaking collisions. The average NFL tackle generates over 1,600 pounds of force. Try to wrap your head around that. Taylor is absorbing that massive impact, play after play, week after week. It's basically 323 car crashes in a single season. Now look, Taylor is widely and rightfully considered a top 5 running back in this league, and he's actually been incredibly durable. The guy meticulously cares for his body with ice baths, hyperbaric chambers, and deep tissue therapy just to restore it so he can go out and do it all over again the next week. I mean, he has surpassed 300 carries 3 times in his career, including both of the last 2 seasons. But here's the harsh truth. The human body has biological limits. The hits are undeniably adding up. Running backs coach DeAndre Smith knows this. The front office definitely knows this. If they want number 28 to be a lethal, absolutely unstoppable force when that January cold sets in, they simply cannot subject him to another 320-plus car crashes before the playoffs even begin. It's just not sustainable.
That brings us to a massive strategic pivot for the franchise: the workhorse versus the cavalry. You have to remember, Taylor is entering a high-stakes contract year, which adds a ton of pressure. Furthermore, the Colts are navigating some incredibly treacherous waters with quarterback Daniel Jones returning from a torn Achilles. Early in the season, relying heavily on the run game won't just be a nice option for Steichen to have, it will be a strict, undeniable necessity to protect their quarterback. So, how on earth do they keep Taylor fresh while leaning on the run? Well, they call in the cavalry. The coaching staff is looking directly at backups DJ Giddens and rookie Seth McGowan. During the spring minicamps, Giddens, who remember barely saw the field as a rookie in 2025, was completely electric. He was ripping off multiple breakaway runs with raw, unadulterated speed during 11-on-11 drills. McGowan, on the other hand, he brought pure, unapologetic physicality to the field, making these decisive, violent cuts between the tackles. This isn't just about resting Taylor on a random second down. This is about systematically breaking a defense's will from multiple angles. The entire master plan relies on one of these young backs stepping up, earning Steichen's trust, and taking those brutal, early-game body blows. Why? So that Jonathan Taylor can become the Grim Reaper in the fourth quarter when defenses are exhausted.
And this brilliantly illustrates a much larger point. Let's look at the brutal reality of this roster construction as a whole. You see, we can talk about Jonathan Taylor's speed or DJ Giddens' burst all day long. It's fun, it's flashy. But the hard, inescapable truth of football, the thing that wins championships, is that the flash of the skill players is entirely 100% dependent on the brutal enforcers protecting them. You absolutely cannot run the ball, you cannot protect a quarterback recovering from a devastating Achilles tear, and you certainly cannot stop opposing offenses in the bitter cold without a completely dominant presence in the trenches. The skill players are the tip of the spear, sure, but the offensive and defensive lines, they are the massive, unyielding shaft that actually drives the weapon home. The Colts' master plan for 2026 isn't just about playmakers. It completely relies on constructing an immovable wall on the defensive side of the ball and an unstoppable bruising force on offense.
To truly understand the defensive side of that wall, we have to look back at the legend of the Big Grove play. Picture it. October 20th, 2025. The Colts are locked in this gritty divisional battle against the Tennessee Titans and their quarterback Cam Ward. In a single, breathtaking sequence of pure, unadulterated chaos, defensive tackle Grover Stewart executed a play that has literally been mythologized in Indianapolis ever since. It started with quick penetration right off the snap. He used a vicious rip move, perfectly planting his massive left cleat into the turf to generate explosive leverage. Then, a violently batted pass at the line of scrimmage where he timed his jump to the exact millisecond the ball left Ward's hand. And then, the impossible happened. A big man pick. It was his first career interception. I want you to imagine a 6'4", 315-pound nose tackle contorting his body midair, moving with the grace of a defensive back to snatch the ball before it even hit the ground. It was a terrifying, mind-bending display of athleticism for a man whose primary job description is basically just to eat blocks. That single whistle-to-whistle sequence proved to everyone that Grover Stewart is not merely a space eater. He is an unyielding force of nature who is fully capable of completely derailing an offensive game plan in a fraction of a second.
For years now, Grover Stewart has sort of been this unsung hero, right? He's the quiet enforcer doing all the grueling, dirty work while DeForest Buckner gets the superstar treatment and the primetime shoutouts. But let's actually look at the facts. In 2024, Stewart broke out with 74 tackles and 10 tackles for loss. In 2025, even with Buckner missing time, Stewart was 6th among all interior linemen in run defense snaps. He just quietly absorbs massive double teams, snap after punishing snap, willingly sacrificing his own statistics so that his linebackers can run free and make the plays. Now, heading into his age 33 season, I'm telling you, he is poised for something massive. Why? Because the Colts are returning a fully healthy, completely revamped pass defense. With Laiatu Latu taking a massive leap off the edge, and the absolute lockdown cornerback duo is Sauce Gardner and Charvarius Ward's senior blanketing receivers, opposing quarterbacks are going to be forced to hold the ball longer. And this is exactly where the macro strategy comes together perfectly. When cornerbacks make the quarterback hesitate for just a half second, that is literally all a 315-pound monster needs to close the gap. With Buckner back healthy beside him to draw attention, Stewart will find himself in highly favorable one-on-one matchups. The immovable object is finally ready to feast.
Now, what's really interesting about this is how this defensive brutality perfectly mirrors their offensive blueprint. While the defensive line exists to destroy, the offensive line is built to suffocate. Enter offensive line coach Tony Sparano Jr. When Shane Steichen took over, he took a gamble on Sparano Jr., handing him the absolute keys to the offensive front. And let me tell you, it has been nothing short of a revelation for this franchise. Sparano Jr., who, if you remember, cut his teeth with the Jets, Jaguars, Panthers, and Giants, is the ruthless architect of a unit that has been a consensus top 5 group for 3 consecutive years now. He doesn't just coach hand placement and footwork. Anybody can do that. He instills a deeply punishing psychological edge into his players. He has taken raw prospects and aging veterans alike and molded them into a terrifying, synchronized machine that literally breaks the will of whoever dares to line up across from them.
Listen to this chilling philosophy that Sparano Jr. laid out during his very first training camp. He said, "We get stronger the longer it goes. We take them to deep water, and we see if those guys can swim or if they'll drown." Let those words sink in for a minute. That isn't just your standard, generic coach speak. That is a threat. That is a blood oath of physical violence extended over 4 grueling quarters. The Colts' offensive line isn't designed to just block you. They are designed to exhaust you. What does deep water actually look like when the 4th quarter hits? It looks like an elite edge rusher standing at the line of scrimmage with his hands on his hips, totally gassed. It looks like a defensive tackle jumping off sides because sheer physical fatigue has completely short-circuited his mental processing. They want to lean their collective thousands of pounds on you in the first quarter, so that by the time the final 2 minutes roll around, your legs are heavy, your lungs are burning, and the deep water just pulls you under. That is exactly how you win in January.
To execute this drowning technique, Chris Ballard and Sperano Jr. have assembled a meticulous blueprint, a totally seamless succession plan. Let's break it down. At left tackle, you have Barnhard Ryman. He was a former third-round raw prospect who Sperano Jr. meticulously developed into a $100 million franchise cornerstone. At left guard, you have the devastating Hall of Fame trajectory of Quentin Nelson, serving as the ultimate anchor for the entire group. But here's the thing. Nelson isn't just a blocker, he is a violent tactician. Imagine the invaluable mid-game adjustments happening on the sideline, with Nelson pulling a young lineman aside on the bench, physically demonstrating hand placement to counter a specific stunt. Seamlessly integrated into this veteran core and absorbing that elite knowledge in real time are the newly minted full-time starters, Tanner Bordellini taking over at center and Matt Goncalves stepping in at right guard. This right here is how elite teams sustain greatness in the NFL. You don't rebuild, you reload. You surround your young, developing interior linemen with historically great, highly paid veterans who demand absolute perfection on every single snap.
So, the crucial point in all this is how they handle the departure of their longtime veteran right tackle Braden Smith. The answer to that massive problem weighs exactly 340 pounds. Enter Jalen Travis. We are talking about a colossal, second-year tackle standing 6'8" and tipping the scales at 340 pounds. For a little context, that is roughly the weight of a full-grown male silverback gorilla, except this one is equipped with shoulder pads, a helmet, and a serious mean streak. He is quite literally a mammoth of a human being. When you lose a stabilizing foundational force like Braden Smith, you don't replace him with a finesse player. No way. You replace him with a mountain. Travis spent his rookie season quietly absorbing the playbook, watching from the shadows as Smith's understudy. But when his moment finally came late in the season, he didn't just step up, he cast a massive, terrifying shadow over opposing edge rushers.
The proof of his dominance is absolutely baked in to his late-season performance data from 2025. Look at the staggering discrepancy we saw when Braden Smith went down in Week 15 against the Jacksonville Jaguars. The Colts were thrust into a desperate, must-win playoff push. This wasn't a soft landing. This was a trial by fire against a gauntlet of elite, playoff-caliber defenses. They faced the Jaguars twice, the relentless San Francisco 49ers front, the Seattle Seahawks, and the Houston Texans. Over that brutal, unforgiving 5-game stretch, Jalen Travis played 168 pass-blocking snaps. Against the absolute best pass rushers in the world, with the team's entire season on the line, this rookie allowed exactly 10 pressures. 10. And if you dig even deeper, only one single sack. Pro Football Focus actually graded him as a top 25 offensive tackle in the entire league during that stretch. So his promotion to the starting lineup in 2026, it absolutely isn't a gamble. It is a calculated, brutal strike by Chris Ballard, deploying his 340-pound weapon exactly when he needs him.
Let's move to the depth chart and see how this builds, because an elite starting five simply isn't enough in this league. Surviving the NFL winter requires a literal factory of depth. Injuries will happen. It's a 100% injury rate sport. Fatigue will set in. You need deep, relentless reinforcements waiting in the wings at all times. This is exactly where the Colts scouting department earns their paychecks. They are constantly molding day 3 draft picks and undrafted free agents into relentless plug-and-play assets. Take rookie Jalen Farmer, for example. He's a former Kentucky guard drafted in the 4th round. He was Tony Sperano Jr.'s personal choice in the draft, fully destined to become the team's de facto 6th man on the line. Then you have Dalton Tucker, a 2024 undrafted free agent who already has 9 starts of invaluable experience under his belt, waiting as the immediate, highly capable backup at center. It is a factory of enforcers, a continuous, never-ending assembly line of 300-pound road graders ensuring the wall never, ever crumbles.
The cold is coming. You can literally feel it looming over the entire 2026 season. If you take one single thing away from this explainer today, it's that you absolutely cannot fake toughness in January. You just can't. Every single rep in the heat of training camp, every snap taken in the mild weather of September and October, it is all just preparation for the freezing, unforgiving reality of playoff football. The Colts aren't building a team to look pretty on a stat sheet or go viral on social media. They are building a roster designed to inflict serious physical punishment when the turf hardens and the weak teams fold. They are hoarding massive offensive linemen, rotating punishing running backs, and unleashing 315-pound defensive tackles to ensure that when the deep water rises, it's their opponents who are gasping for air.
So the ultimate question remains for all of us. Will this master plan hold up when the winter push truly begins? Can Steichen and his staff successfully manage Jonathan Taylor's massive workload to keep him lethal for a playoff run? Can Grover Stewart and DeForest Buckner continue to anchor an immovable, devastating defense? Will Jalen Travis and the young offensive lineman flawlessly execute Tony Sparano Jr.'s drowning technique against the absolute elite pass rushers in the AFC? This is a high-stakes, meticulously calculated chess match, but it's played with 300-pound pieces moving at incredibly violent speeds. Whether it culminates in total heartbreak or ultimately in championship glory, it is going to be an absolutely thrilling, can't-miss war of attrition to watch unfold. Thank you so much for diving into the trenches with us today on NFL Nexus. If you love this level of cinematic, deep-dive football analysis, make sure you hit that subscribe button, like this explainer, and drop a comment below on whether you think the Colts' offensive line is truly the best in the league. And don't forget to support the channel by becoming a member for exclusive perks and content. Until next time, keep your eyes on the trenches.